It's a slow night here at the bar, so we're going to do something I've been wanting to do for a while. As you can see, we got a few games here. This screen that you see right now, this is the screen you will see when the game first loads up. But if you are a new player, this screen does not have what you want. What you're going to want to do, go to this left-hand menu, second item, skirmish. Or third item, scenarios. These scenarios actually do a pretty good job of like ramping you up to like actual interesting mechanics and like starting you slow and building you up from there. But what I would really recommend is you go to skirmish. Maybe don't play this map. I don't know what the fuck that is. Death Valley, that's a pretty good one. This is one that's playable like 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, arguably up to 4v4, but that's a bit dicier. But like at the very least 3v3, you're going to get a good game here. So it's a good one to practice on, and then you can take that practice into small team games versus other players. But you 100% want to be able to just like stomp the AI before you play against people, because people are going to be better than the AI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a game versus simple AI, and then I'm going to play a game versus barbarian AI. And the first one versus the simple AI, I'm going to be talking a lot about the very, very basics of the game. And then we're going to go into the, like, slightly less basics of the game. And in both cases, it's going to be basically about, like, giving you a soft launch into Beyond All Reason. And the intended audience here is people who simply do not know what an RTS is, what it's about, how you play it, what the mechanics are, what the win conditions are, things of this nature. We're just going to talk about all of that stuff. If you do know what that is, you're still going to get value out of it, because I'm, frankly, a pretty good player of this game, and I'm going to be throwing in some high-level tips too, but you're going to have to sit through a lot of over-explaining, because if you read the title of the video, we are over-explaining a game of Beyond All Reason. So let's start that game up right now versus simple AI. Now, I'm going to be playing this quite slowly, suboptimally. The point I want to make is, if you know what you're doing, you do not need crisp, clean, precise timings to take down simple AI. It's called simple for a reason, okay? So we're going to take this very slow.
Your starting location.
Now, choosing your starting location. This, in a team game, is going to be something that you can ask someone else to do for you. Someone on your team will know where the good starting locations are, and if you say, where should I start, they will be happy to tell you. And you should feel comfortable asking that kind of question to your team, because it's a team game. This is played, 8v8 is most common. You sometimes see bigger games, you sometimes see smaller games. I think for new players, 4v4, 3v3 are good formats to go into once you have the basics down. If you're an absolute beginner, then it will be hard to win a 3v3. But if you look at how you lose, you can improve from that, right? You can learn, and it's really is a process of iteration. So anyway, to get back on topic here, in this case, we have a 1v1. And in here, I'm going to be looking at, okay, where are the metal spots on the ground? You can see each of these little circles with the 1.9 in the middle of them. These are metal spots. That's 1.9 metal per second. Metal is one of the 2 resources in the game. You got metal up here, you got energy. Now, energy typically is abundant. Metal typically is scarce. You can convert energy into metal at generally unfavorable rates of exchange. So extracting metal from these spots on the ground is typically the most important thing in the game. The second most important thing is going to be reclaiming metal from wrecks that are left after a battle, but we will get to that once we get to it. So for now, I'm going to be looking at where are the metal spots, how can I start near a bunch of them, and I see there's 4 of them in the corner here, versus 3 of them here, 3 of them here. 4 is more than 3, and so I start right here. Now, I'm hitting Z, which is, as you can see in the bottom left, the hotkey for a metal extractor, and that shows me what the range is around each of these metal spots where I can place one. So I'm going to put one down here, and I'm going to put my commander, we'll talk about that in a second, at the very edge of that range. Okay, so I'm going to lock position, and now since it's a 1v1, we're not waiting for anyone, the game starts.
Battle
so I'm locking
started.
in, and I'm spawning in. This dude appears on the map. Okay, this is my commander. This is like a king in chess, is probably the easiest way to think about it, if the king was actually useful. Rather than starting with a full chessboard, you start with just this one dude, and then you're going to use this one dude to build the other dudes. Now, first off, we're getting these metal extractors. These are going to give you metal per second. We can see we're up to 6 metal per second, and that's going to be 1.9 from this guy, 1.9 from this guy, and then 2.0 from the commander. You see this in the bottom left. These numbers are on your screen. You can check all this, and that rounds out to 6. Now, we need some energy, too, because right now we're only getting it from the commander, so we're going to make some wind turbines. That'll give you energy. Average wind speed on this map is 10.6, so that means on average, you're getting 10 energy per second from your wind. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. That fluctuation is one of the things that makes the game interesting, because you can time things around, okay, maybe I want to make a push in the next minute, but I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to wait for when the wind is low, because I know that's when my opponent is going to have a hard time producing defenses. These kinds of things you can think about, and that adds tactical depth to the game. But that's fairly advanced. You don't need to think about that yet. So I made some winds. Now I'm making my bot lab. Now, bots are a strong start on pretty much any map. Sometimes you're going to want to go vehicles. Sometimes you're going to want to go air. Sometimes you're going to want to go sea. These are all options. Hovercraft are also an option, but they are much more of a niche thing. They are something you switch into rather than starting in. I would not recommend them for new players. Now I'm going to make a construction bot out of my bot lab. That hotkey Z right there. This allows me to get a little dude that can build things. And that's a great start because I can build more metal spots with it. And that's really nice to have at the start of the game. Now I'm hitting double Z. That's Z twice. That allows me to drag a little circle here. This is called the area mex command. Mex is short for metal extractor.
Low power.
So this allows me to basically select a region of the map and build all the metal spots. And it'll automatically do the pathfinding for where to go to do that. Now I want some more energy income here because these things cost energy to build them. So I'm going to go back to wind. I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt, and that allows me to do a grid command like this. Now, if you're a new player, you're likely going to be building just ridiculous amounts of wind in big squares. Do not do that. Build lines of 2. Build rows. Do not do 3. Do not do more than 3. Build 2. The reason for this is that if these get killed, then they're going to explode and do a small amount of splash damage to the buildings around them, and that will chain react. That's no good. And so when it's rows of 2, the chain reaction will not spread. If it's rows of 3 or more, then losing some of your wins means you lose all of your wins. That's no good. You do not want that. Now, I have no units, and it's 3 minutes into the game. In a real game, I would be toast right now for that reason. However, I'm going slow because I'm against simple AI and I'm trying to explain things to you. And by the way, the AI names, these are sourced from actual players. I forget exactly what the criterion is there, but I think that's a cute little thing that you can do in an open source game. I think that's really fun and nice. So I just wanted to point that out. But what I'm doing here is I'm now starting with pawns. Pawns are a very basic unit. These are easy to use. Ticks are the only cheaper option available to you, but pawns are still very cheap, very good, and they have a lot of utility through a lot of the game. And they spawn out here, and you can see I've already gotten 1 kill with those guys. Now, these guys are automatically on auto group 1. I did that by pressing Alt and then hitting 1, which I just did again to illustrate
Low
it.
power.
What that basically means is whenever these guys pop out of the factory, or even when they're still building, they are already added to that control group. A control group is a number that I can hit to select all of these. Now, that's really, really useful. What I can do, that's kind of fancy, is I can select some of these and press, for example, I'm going to hit Control 5 here. That takes these 3 and moves them onto a separate group. So now, new reinforcements go to Group 1 still, but these guys do not go on that. If I hit 5, I select these guys. 1, I select these guys. Now, this allows you to basically have 2 forces, and one of them is the force that gets reinforced with the new units you're producing. The other one is just like sort of a standalone strike force of a fixed size that you determine. And this is really helpful when you need to split your army to be able to have 2 groups like that. And that's a mechanic that I recommend people learning. There's the automix command again, by the way, just to keep this guy going. Note how fast that is. And if no one tries to kill this dude, he's just going to keep walking around. He's going to keep building metal spots. We're all going to be good. We're going to be building up our income. Now, there's a few more troops incoming here. I don't even... Okay, proving me wrong. I do need to move, so I'm going to use the fight command there. The fight command is like the move command, but as soon as there's an enemy in range, they will stop moving. So if you've played StarCraft, for example, attack move is your reference point for that. But in this game, they call it the fight command. And that's very useful when you're using things like rockets, which you see here, my opponent has built one. That's very useful to have. Now, I'm going to start thinking about bringing my commander out to the front line. In a 1v1, you generally want to be safe with your commander. If your commander dies, then the game is over. Like I said, it's like a chess game in that sense. But I want to illustrate building things on the front line with the commander, so I'm going to trust in my own ability to keep him alive. So I'm going to move him up here. The commander can walk through most water, unless it's like really a cliff face. You can press F6 to see exactly what the navigable terrain is. This sort of orange means it's going to be slow but not impossible. And so I know that guy can move through there, get up here, get that metal spot, then I'm going to throw up a radar behind it. Now I'm losing dudes here because I have not responded to what's going on over there. Meanwhile, I do have dudes that are behind enemy lines, and I'm going to see what I can do with them. Now, this is a 1v1, but they're repairing with that res bot, so that makes that slightly dicey. I'm going to not take that fight. I am going to move these guys up there. Now, notice you can right-click and drag. That's how I'm doing this command, and this allows you to very easily set up surrounds. This is good because Bar does have a mechanic for flanking damage. If you are shooting a dude, and you've got another unit that's shooting that same dude from the opposite direction, like these two guys on that guy, then they do bonus damage. And it's a lot of bonus damage. I forget the exact number, but it's enough that it's always worth it. Now, I just got radar up here with my commander. That means you can see the shaded green area. I can see any units that are moving through it. This allows Bar to approach a perfect information game. It's not quite there, but it's closer than pretty much any other RTS. You could make an analogy to a Xel'Naga tower in StarCraft, for example. But it's actually better than that because you get to choose where they are. And overbuild radars is my #1 recommendation, especially for new players, but really for everyone. Because the more information you get, the more informed your decision-making will be. And now I'm moving up my commander to build another radar. Now, in this game, I'm basically thinking about, I know my opponent is in this region. I don't know where yet. It's weird that I haven't found the base, which makes me think it's here. And so I'm like, okay, to get from there to here and fuck me up, what do you gotta do? You gotta come through, like, maybe here. By the way, I'm holding tilde and dragging on the map to make these lines. Or you can go through here. And so I'm setting up this radar to give me vision of this flank path. Okay, I've found the base here. That's really good. I'm running in. I'm going to try to kill this metal extractor. It barely does not go down. That's unfortunate for me, but oh well. If I had got that, I would be cutting into my opponent's income. Now you can see here I'm wasting metal, I'm wasting energy, I'm being very inefficient. Again, this is not a good game. I'm playing slow so that I can explain everything as I go. We're going to inch forward with another radar. With pawns, radar doesn't super matter, but if I was making, for example, Rocketeers, it would matter a lot. With maces, it also matters a lot, but less so. So I'm going to be inching forward here. And again, we can see that this is a free area that nothing is in, and so I can continue moving forward. One high-level trick you can do with your commander that I think a lot of noobs would not think of is you have a radius marked by this green line, this green circle, within which you can build, and if you move next to a cliff, then that circle will often encompass the top of the cliff. And so you can, for example, say, build a radar up on this cliff. And my dude will be like, yeah, no problem, I can do that. And then that will be a radar that is harder for your opponent to spot, to get to, and to kill. And it will also, because of that high ground advantage, do very well at getting line of sight. Now I'm going to kill this dude because it's easy, just moving up and surrounding there. Similarly over here, we're just going to sort of draw a circle and move in. Because I'm taking metal spots, and I just have an abundance of resources, this stuff is truly trivial for me to do. Also, this is a anti-air bot. I don't have air, so that's stupid for my opponent to make. Over here, I'm still on a repeat queue of pawns. Yeah, you have repeat on here. If I turn this off, then this would clear the queue. But I want to have that on so that I can keep getting pawns. If this were a more serious game, I would thinking about something more serious to get. I might switch into maces here. Or if my opponent had a lot of turrets, I would go into Rocketeers because those outrange turrets. Now, at this moment, what I really want is build power. So I hold down Alt, and I click on Construction Bot, or I could hit Z. Either way, this inserts a dude at the front of the build queue, so it builds immediately after the currently building unit. And that allows me to get some more of these construction bots out without disrupting my queue. Now, currently the queue is trivial, so I don't really care about disrupting it, but for example, I could do a thing where I'm like, okay, I want 1 Rocketeer and then 3 Maces and then loop that, right? So that builds them in a 1-to-3 ratio. That kind of thing can be very powerful, very useful. So now at this point, I think I'm ready to say I need to just go collect my win. This game is over. My opponent just doesn't know it yet. This is going very well. And the way that I know that is I have a lot of metal spots. I can select a metal extractor, hit Q when I'm zoomed out to select all of them, and I can see plus 37 metal. And up here I see a lot more than that because I'm reclaiming a little bit. But the point stands that basically this is a lot of income for me. And I can look at the map, I can look at the neutral spots on the map, and I can see, okay, my opponent clearly does not have enough metal spots to balance that out. So I know that my income is greater, which means that I will outproduce my opponent with time. Of course, that's not actually true because I'm wasting metal, I'm overflowing, because I've not managed my eco well this game, because I'm not focusing on that. So I'm going to take 2 of these guys and build a very long row of wins, then send them back to my lab. And I'm doing that with a shift queue to make sure that they do that after their current command, so they don't disrupt my current queue, anything like that. And that'll help me scale my energy production, which needs to sort of scale alongside my metal production. Metal's more important. Energy is easier to get, but if you forget about energy, then you're in trouble. Meanwhile, I've got my rockets coming out, I've got my maces coming out. We're doing good back at home here. I think these guys can build a build turret. Now, the build turret has 200 build power, compared to these construction bots, which have 80. Okay, so this is more than twice as effective at boosting the lab. However, it does not move. It has a fixed radius. If you get air transports, you can airdrop these around. People very rarely do that. However, this is really nice if I want to build things out of the map. If I want to use these guys to build metal extractors, for example, I might drop down a construction turret at home just to make sure that I have build power at home before I go out and do that stuff. Now, the advantage of build power, I should also explain, is that it makes things build faster. This is not a game like StarCraft where you have a fixed build time. A fixed build time for each unit. This is a game where the build time depends on how much build power is going into the lab.
Low power.
So you can see suddenly these build much faster, except they really don't, because I'm bottlenecked on energy. But I can take my build turrets, right-click them on these wind turbines, and then I can see suddenly, watch, okay, this is going to be ETA like 10 seconds, right? And I right-click, suddenly, boom, 1 second, done. So you can do a lot of micromanagement there. Now I've got these maces. These are higher HP, longer range, and they shoot plasma shells, which are very much like a staple kind of weapon that you see a lot of bots and a lot of tanks fire off. These are good to know about. They do contrast with, for example, the rockets that these Rocketeers will shoot. But the maces have now reached the front line. These things are very strong, and I will be using them to make this final push into my opponent's territory. Now I'm going to be focusing on executing this well, which means basically trying to lose as little as possible while I'm doing it. The main scary thing, I see this big red circle. This is indicative of an agitator right here. This guy, this is long-range artillery. As soon as I walk into that circle, I can expect that thing to start firing. What that means is that I do not want to trickle units into that circle one at a time. I don't want some kind of a single-file line going in there. What I want is a bunch of units moving in at the same time to minimize the window in which this building can do damage to me. And so right now I'm setting up basically an arc of a bunch of dudes along the edge of that range, so that then I can walk them all in and focus fire this, and hopefully there's not too much defense in the way. If there are a lot of defensive units or buildings, then I might need to pick a different place to fight. However, knowing my opponent, I do not expect that to be the case. So, yeah, we're going to engage the few units we do see, because I have the numbers advantage here, and I'm just kind of walking sideways, because you'll notice these plasma shells have a travel time, which means that if I'm sort of strafing, then they need to lead the shot in order to hit me. And if they miss, they miss. These are not tracking projectiles. And so I I can kind of count on that to reduce the amount of incoming damage. Now, I don't know why this thing isn't firing, actually. You would expect to see those shells coming in. But I'm going to walk closer and see... I mean, maybe it's been reclaimed, possibly. Yeah, it's no longer here, which is actually a bad decision out of my stupid bot opponent. Score 1 for humans over AI. And we're just going to keep walking in, because the one thing I was scared of no longer exists. So, yeah, basically just try to minimize damage taken. If you need to stand in range of turrets, then try to stand in range of only one turret at a time, and focus that turret down before you continue. I see that green laser, that tells me there's a heavy laser turret in the corner here. So now that the rest of the defenses are cleared out, I am going to hit that, and I can burst it down pretty fast here. Now, I was talking about the travel time of these plasma projectiles, and these rockets for that matter. Obviously, a turret is not able to strafe, it's not able to dodge those, and so it's going to have a hard time stopping that. Now we're going to move in with these dudes. I'm going to drop another radar, because you can never have enough radar. I'm going to grab this guy, and yeah, Area Mechs will grab that, and then grab that. Little shift Q there. Bring this guy into the corner. I'm looking for the enemy commander here. I'm saying, okay, wherever that guy is, that's what I need to kill, right? That's the chess king in this situation. And so let's find him, let's get rid of him. Yeah, we'll notice we're still wasting metal here. One thing you can do as a band-aid for this, metal storage. Energy storage as well for energy. It's good to get a couple of those. You generally don't need more than a couple. You sometimes see noobs build like fucking like 10 of them. That's a mistake. You don't need that. That's wasted resources. But a couple of them that you slowly build over the course of the game are good. I just found the enemy commander. He's there. I have radar lock. So one fun thing with radar is when you haven't seen what a radar lock is, it'll show up as a blob like this guy. As soon as you see a unit, it will continue to show up as that unit until it goes out of radar coverage, which you can see just happened here because this guy, I think, dipped down into the water. Yeah, this is an amphibious unit, so it went underwater and my radar coverage does not hit there. But as soon as it came back out, obviously I could see what it is. But I know that the commander is here. This is a long way, excuse me, of making that point. So I'm going to move these guys in. And the commander has something that I'll demonstrate for you right now called the D gun. D stands for disintegration. It's called that because it disintegrates anything that it hits. And it's also on hotkey D, which is the other reason why it's called the D gun. Now this is an incredibly powerful thing even into the late game. It's a good reason to keep your commander alive. It's a good reason to bring your commander to the front. However, it has a limited range. So, for example, I know that these maces outrange the D-gun, so I'm going to fire from max range at this dude.
Enemy commander
and then boom,
destroyed.
He's dead. So there you go. That was a game that probably could have been over in 6 minutes. We did it in 18, but I feel like I explained a lot more this way. Now I'm going to do this again against a harder AI, and I'm going to talk more about, like, higher level strategies. Let's do the Barb AI, and then if this is too easy, we'll do one where the Barb gets a bonus. I don't super recommend training against barbarians with a bonus, simply because it's a little bit like if you're playing, for example, Civilization or one of those games. You do the hard AI. At a certain point, they just start cheating. I think the same is true in StarCraft 2. They give them resource bonuses, things of this nature. And the problem with this is that the timings you learn are not real timings. They can get things out faster than any human could. And so if you're like, oh, I need to be ready for the air attack at 2 minutes, no, you fucking don't. That's not a real thing. That's a thing that's only possible if your opponent is literally cheating. So I don't think it's useful to learn those timings. However, I do think that, you know, as sort of a test of skill, it can be a little bit like training with weights on, right? Where it's like, okay, if I'm playing a game that's unfair against me, can I still win? So right here, I'm going to build 2 metal extractors, then 2 winds. In this case, I could potentially walk to get the 3rd, maybe even 4th metal extractors, but the less you move your comm in the early game, the better. The reason for that is very simple, which is that your comm is your only source of build power, and you want to be spending that build power. Now, you can spend it on metal extractors, but if you're walking, you're not spending it on anything. So trying to keep your comm static, get some cons out, send those cons out onto the map to build these other things, that's much more efficient. Now, to get your bot lab, you want plus 60 energy at least, potentially more. If you want to get a vehicle lab, then you're going to want even more than that. I think, like, I forget what the number is for a vehicle lab, but like ballpark 70, 80. I'm going to start with a combat here. It's also valid to start with ticks. That's a valid move as well. I'm playing Armada right now, which means that this bot starts immediately. If I was Cortex, there would be a 1-second delay before this emerges, which would mean actually that I am better served by starting something like a solar collector in that 1-second window, for the simple reason that that's 1 second of build power that's not being wasted on the comm. Now, the solar collectors, I haven't mentioned this yet, so I'll say it now. These are similar to winds, except that they produce energy at a constant rate. And I'm going to start with a similar queue to before here. Except I'm going to, I'm going to send that dude out, and I'm getting some pawns out. And I'm a huge fan of the early radar, because basically, if you're getting rushed, you want to know it. Actually, in this case, that was a bad move, so I'm going to queue up a solar before it. You hold down space to put something at the start of your queue rather than the end when you're shift queuing. Maybe it's worth watching a video on mechanics. I'm not going to break that down in too much detail because there's simply too much to say. But yeah, basically that's how you do that. And now I'm getting these guys out. I can move them across the map. If anything tries to flank me here, I'm ready for it. No problem at all. Not worried about that. Get my first dudes out. The value of early harassment is something that many new players really underestimate. But the basic fact of the matter is, if you are trying to carry a game, then you want to be ahead of your opponent, and past a certain skill level, your opponent is not going to just play a suboptimal opening by choice. So what you need to do is you need to make their opening suboptimal, and you do that through various skill checks. You make the game harder for them. To do that, you need to interact with them. To interact with them, you need to have units on their side of the map, right? Now you can see this early tick coming out of my opponent. This is my opponent trying to do this to me, but I beat them to the punch. So that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. If they snuck past me here, then perhaps it could work. So I'm watching my flank with this dude. Yep, and you see that guy's trying to get in there and actually does outspeed me. Power. So luckily I have reinforcements that can head him off there. And if he got even further, he would come into radar range and I would know about it. I'm moving this guy in basically to do the same thing. But yeah, you don't need to be this fast to do what I'm doing. You just need to have these concepts, okay? I'm going to send these guys to guard that construction bot to make sure it doesn't get picked off. This does not attack on its own, so it needs that. This con's coming out. I'm just going to make him do... I'm going to make him do a bunch of winds, then an energy storage, then converters. Now, T1 converters are not that strong. I don't actually recommend building too many of them, but like literally 1 or 2 of them might be a good move. Okay, I see the comm here. Now the comm can attack, so I don't think that I'm going to get this next, but I'm going to try it anyway, because I'm greedy. And there we go, I actually do get lucky there. Now, if the comm is here, it's not here, which means that this might be undefended. It might also have... Oh, come on, guy. I thought I caught you. One thing that's a good move for more advanced players, or excuse me, for medium-range players, is to build laser turrets within your base to prevent this kind of harass from going off. Yeah, you can see my opponent has one right here. It does need line of sight to fire, which means that when I'm behind these winds, it cannot hit me, which is a good thing for me. And similarly, I can stand at max range there. I do not have enough time to actually get the kill on that, but it's still not bad, right? So we're going to do that, and I'm going to... Yeah, this frankly is a little bit more scuffed. I'm talking, and it's distracting me from playing, but it's still a completely recoverable situation. This is one other thing I want to emphasize, is a lot of people, especially new players, get tilted very easily. You simply cannot have that mindset. You need a strong mental. Basically, the way I try to explain this game to people who don't play RTS is, you know, like the circus act, where people are spinning plates, and they've got like a bunch of plates on sticks, and they're running around spinning each stick to keep the plates going. It's a little bit like a competitive version of that, where it's like, imagine instead of just you spinning the plates, it's you, and then at the other side of the stage there's another person. And you're literally just going where it's like, whoever has a plate standing last wins. That's what this game feels like, and if that sounds fun to you, then fuck yeah. And if not, then maybe find something else. I'm reclaiming that tick, which I do with the E button. That's the same button that you use to eat salvage, but in this case I was doing it versus a live unit. Now you can already see this opponent is producing more units than the previous one did, which is good, because that means that we've got a live one here, you know? This is not going to be something as boring as the last game. But it does mean I need to pay some degree of attention here. So I've got my build power looking okay back at home. I've got 1 con for every 6 pawns. I don't know if that's an exactly correct ratio. It, of course, would depend on the map. That's one that's one fun thing about this game, is that a lot of things are map dependent, which means that you don't just have like an optimal build order that you do every game in every situation. It's much more something that you're kind of winging and figuring out on the fly based on what's available to you, which I find fun. Now, I'm killing these winds to basically hamper my enemy's resource production. The main thing is, if my enemy invested metal in something, I want to kill that thing, because that means that they invested metal for no reason, or for a limited reason. They expected a continuing return on investment, and they got a limited time return. So that's very good for me, right? That just makes their life harder, which makes my life, by extension, much easier. I'm going to throw up a couple of turrets in this main choke point. There's an auxiliary flank path over here that it bothers me that I don't have a radar lock on. That is simply something I'm just going to have to deal with at this point in the game, but we're going to try to handle that sooner rather than later. If this were a real 3v3, you would have a person here, here, and here. I'm holding down tilde and then middle mouse to do those pings, by the way. And you would expect this person to go up here and then either fight through here or else find some way to, like, make some naval units and go in there. Or not naval units, but amphibious units. Building C would be frankly silly, but you could, for example, build amphibious tanks, or you could walk your commander through there. Those are a couple of the options that are available to you. Very lucky that that finished in time to catch that. You'll love to see it. Sometimes you do get lucky. It's not all bad. And at this point, I'm going to start thinking about build turrets. I'm going to throw down 2 of them. Rule of thumb, 1 build turret per 10 metal per second is a good ratio to maintain. Another thing here, I'm going to be moving out my comm. I need to be super careful with this. If my comm gets swarmed and killed, I will not be able to fire D-guns fast enough to save it. Oh, this is really annoying. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier, about watching this flank angle. So I'm going to take a few of these dudes, drag select, Control 5 to put them on that control group, and bring them over here. Now, reinforcements still go to the front line, but I have like 4 dudes here that I can use to handle this flank. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a radar there, then a laser turret at the bottom, laser turret at the top, rebuild these mexes. And that's going to be more of a long-term plan. Edge building a radar up here like I talked about before as well. This is to make sure my comm doesn't get swarmed. If you have radar, you will know where the enemy is and where they're going. And it will be much, much harder for them to catch you by surprise. And so you basically, this is almost as good as like covering fire in terms of protecting your commander, right? You have a longer time to respond, get them out of a bad situation if they get into one. Meanwhile, yeah, shutting down these ticks on the flank, and I'm just going to leave these guys here. I was just going to guard that until my turrets go up. I'm going to make sure that these mexes have not been retaken. If they have been, I'll kill them. Similarly, okay, they have been, but the comm is there, so I can't fight that. I can pick off this one, though. So I'm going to move on down there, move these guys up here. Basically, I'm trying to force my opponent to split their troops, because I think I have more troops than they do. And that means I could win a head-on fight, but I could win a split fight even easier, right? This is something that is essentially, I was talking about skill checks. That is a skill check, where it's like I'm forcing you to make an assessment of what needs to go where to win. Now, I just saw my opponent has a Centurion. This is a unit that's very good against pawns, so I'm going to stop pawn production, and I'm going to start thinking. This is the Centurion, by the way, right here. I'm going to start thinking about what I can do to trade my pawns out efficiently. And one thing is I'm going to put damage on this comm. If I get lucky, I get the kill here. If I don't get lucky, then I've put a lot of damage on this guy, and that means... Oh, okay, well, the game's over. If that hadn't worked, if my opponent had gotten good D-guns, then it would still mean the comm got damaged, which means that any little skirmish could kill it, so he would have to move it back, which means that the build power would be coming exclusively from con bots, in terms of expanding to metal spots. The commander would not be able to help with that. And that's really good for me, because that means my opponent's going to be expanding slower and expanding with units that cannot defend themselves. So that would make it a lot easier for me to harass the expansions and to guarantee that I can scale more effectively long term. Yeah, you can see in terms of metal produced here, I actually was a little bit behind for a lot of the game. but then picked up. And in terms of energy produced, sort of similarly, it's sort of a back and forth there. But yeah, I definitely do feel that I would have easily won that. Now let's give this guy a bonus, because that was frankly a little bit too easy. So we're going to go up to maybe... I don't do this very often, so I forget what's good. Let's do 30%. Fuck it. And this is hopefully going to be a real game at this point. So I'm going to have to focus in a little bit more here, but I'll keep narrating what's happening as it happens. Yeah, and again, it's sort of unusual to have 1v1s.
Please choose your starting
I think they're
location.
a great way to learn about the game. They're a little bit frustrating for new players a lot of the time. They're very punishing. So I wonder if this is the best introduction. But it's what I'm doing. And after this, I'm going to maybe try to do like a 3v3 or something. And we can maybe even try to find a different map for it. Okay, similar opening here. Yeah, I'm going to do it exactly the same. Well, no, I'm not. We're going to watch the wind, and we're going to adapt based on what the wind does. Because if the wind goes high, if it goes up to 14, then I'm going to feel good about having 2 winds. If it stays lower than that, I'm going to need 3. So we're going to play it by ear here, basically. This is one thing about this. You can queue up a lot of buildings when you're, like, waiting for the game to start. I don't think it's actually good to do that, because a lot of the time your build order should depend on the wind speed, and you want to be able to adapt to that. Sometimes you can adapt to that as, like, you're going through your queue. A lot of the time, it's simply not that easy. So yeah, this is a case where I'm cutting it real close here. You can see the wind is low, and I'm about to bottom out on energy. So I'm going to go and make a solar as soon as this is done, rather than winds. Winds cost energy to make. You can see it here in the bottom left. Solars cost no energy. So if you're bottomed out on energy, then solars are the better choice, because they're not going to stall on energy. They're very, very metal inefficient, so you don't want to keep them around long term. You want to reclaim them at a certain point, which you can do at no loss. You get 100% return on investment in terms of the metal that you get back.
Low power.
You do not get the energy cost back, but luckily the energy cost in this case is 0, so that's okay. Now once again, going to be building those dudes, and then moving on out here. And yeah, we're just gonna get some pawns out. I really like starting with pawns. I've played full games on pawns. And we're talking like long games, not fast ones, but like you can be on pawns at the 20-minute mark if your macro is good, and you're expanding well. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. There's usually better choices to make, but like that's always an option, right? Now, this last solar was arguably too much. You can see I'm at 0 metal here, -20 plus 6, so basically everything is building like 3 times slower than it needs to be. This is an unforced error on my part. And this is the sort of thing, I mean, let me be clear, I'm not perfect, right? I really, I'm pretty good. I'm better than most players, and the things you're seeing me do, let me be clear, they are good enough for like 90% of bar games, at least. However, like, I'm still human. Actually, that's a lie, I'm a fish. But you get the idea. Now, I'm going to build a sentry here. This is for protecting against leaks of ticks. You'll notice that this exactly covers the edge of the map, and here. But of course the tick gets in before I can get that up, so I need to chase it away with a pawn. Now I'm watching here because it's going to try to sneak past me. I'm not going to let that happen. Good fucking luck, buddy. And this is very much like where this becomes a little micro mini game. And of course the computer has infinite actions per minute, so it's going to have a very easy time playing that micro mini game. I do not have infinite actions per minute, but this is the only part of the game that I'm good at. So I choose to play to my strengths, right? And there we go. That put a lot of damage on that guy. This is ETA 19 seconds. That's not great. However, I do have a pawn in the area, so there we go. That can clear that guy out. Now, you do not want to tunnel vision on this shit. If you tunnel vision on this, then you will probably fuck up your build, and that's no good. However, you do not want to forget about this shit either. Now, I put these guys in Control Group 5 so that I can move my reinforcements with my main group here. It's so helpful to have 2 groups of dudes running around so that you can cover multiple angles at once without having to worry about it too much. And you can switch around from one to the other with Control 5 and Alt 5, Control 1 and Alt 1, whatever the fuck. I usually like to put the auto group on 1, the control group on 5. That's just my preferences. And then I'll have 2 be artillery. 3 and 4 are generally specialties, like 4 is going to be heavy hitter specialist units, 3 is going to be anti-air. Sometimes 2 is anti-air. It depends on the game. You can switch this around from one game to the next. It does not have to be fixed. It's very easy to adjust on the fly. Anyway, what's happening here is I'm looking to see what's going on in mid. I'm splitting these guys up because their point is not to take a fight, and so I don't care if they have enough numbers to take that fight. This is purely just scouting. So I want to see, are you expanding over here? Are you expanding over here? Yes, you are. Okay. Now you're sending one dude with that, so I can't actually fight that yet. But now I know where my target should be, so I'm going to merge these guys back up. Now, I believe we both have pawns here, so they have equal range, obviously, which is good for me. I'm going to move my comm up here and get a radar in mid, and then I'm going to start getting LLTs in mid. LLT is short for Light Laser Turret, which is the thing that the comm can build. The other turrets are frankly better, but LLTs are abundant because comms build them. Now the opponent's comm is here, so that means I move in over here. One thing that a lot of newer players struggle with is you see where the enemy's strong, and you're like, okay, how do I fight them? And you look for where they're strong because that's where the fight's going to happen,
Low
right?
power.
Wrong. That's absolutely wrong. You want to fight them where they are weak. It's some Sun Tzu shit. I forget the quote, but basically, like, why would you pick a fight that you're going to lose when you can pick a fight that you would win? Case in point right here. Easy. Absolutely easy. Fight outside the build turret range. No problem at all. One other thing that I strongly recommend, especially for newer players, zoom out a lot. You will see more of what's happening in the game. It'll be easier to have that situational awareness. What I'm doing here basically is I know my opponent has an advantage in terms of their income, and so I'm trying to cut down their income producing structures. I'm like, okay, maybe you're going to be making a lot of money out of each of your buildings, but if you have fewer of them, that balances that out. So I'm going really hard into harassment here. I'm also building turrets here because this harassment direction is something I'm worried about, right? And so if I cut it off at the head here, that's going to make things a lot easier for me down the road. And I'm going to adjust so that my LLTs are covering that exactly. Now, in the bottom right, this button clears the annotations you make on the map. Super good to know. It also clears other people. So if you get someone who's, you know, a 12-year-old who's drawing dicks on the map, you can get rid of that shit, which is certainly good to know. Not that I would ever have been in that situation, but, you know, if it comes up in your games, now you know. Now, as soon as these LLTs are in place, I feel confident expanding behind them into this area. This is super important to understand what parts of the map you control and what parts you don't. In this case, I control all of that shit. I also should have built these 3 mechs much sooner, but I didn't because I'm juggling a lot of stuff right now and I'm wasting metal, so my build power scaling is lagging. That's not great, so I hit space and right-click here to insert that build command at the start of this queue, and now they're going to, I'm going to hit N to bring those back onto their normal queue. N for next, not for normal. But that basically speeds up getting that build turret out, which is necessary for me to stay in this game, because wasting metal is literally just an advantage that you are throwing away, right? If you're wasting metal, then it's like that's something you've earned. It's literally just giving away money, essentially. You know, if you got, like, I don't know, subscriptions that you forget to cancel, and you just got money going out of your account every month, that's equivalently bad to wasting metal, if you want a relatable analogy for a lot of folks. Now, moving up here, I know that these mixes are denied to my opponent. I know these ones are tentatively denied to my opponent. And basically, these forces that I have on the map, I don't expect these to win a fight, but I don't expect to... basically, the idea is if I have to give up this ground, it's not going to happen without me knowing it, right? I'm going to know that you're pushing into this area. And so that allows me to keep track of how fast my opponent is expanding. And if they're not expanding, in particular, I need to wonder, what are they doing at home? Are they teching up? Is it something like that? That would be strange, but it's certainly not unheard of. And yeah, there we go. I'm just going to queue up a few more things here. My metal storage brings me up to 5k metal total. And so the fact that I'm bringing in more than I'm spending is less of a problem now. Now, it still could potentially be a problem in terms of fighting, because there's simple arithmetic of, like, okay, if my opponent spent all of their metal, then they would have 2,500 metal more than me on the ground. You can select these dudes, see that these cost 1k metal between all of these pawns to produce. So you could imagine 2.5 times this army on the map. My opponent could potentially have that. Now, once again, I see a Centurion. I'm switching out of pawns. I could make a Centurion myself. I don't actually, in this context, want one. But it's something to be conscious of, right? Now, moving on. What do we got here? We got my Conbot and my Commander both taking this flank. I'm going to do something here that is frankly a little unconventional. Now, I'm going to do something that I want you to not get the wrong idea about. I'm going to tech up to T2 here. This is the most common mistake that I see people, especially new players, but not exclusively new players, make in the game, is teching up to T2 at the wrong time. And I really, really, really don't want you to think the wrong things about when to do this. This is not a comeback mechanic. This is not, oh no, I'm behind, I'd better go T2. That is the opposite of how it works. T2 is for when you literally have more money than you know what to do with, and you just need something to spend it on. Then you go T2, and that's the situation I'm in here. So I'm going to drop down this T2 lab. I'm going to cancel my repeat on that main queue. I'm going to eat these dudes, because we're at a point in the game where I just don't think they're metal efficient anymore. And we can get into the numbers of that, but that's not for this video. I mean, truly, if you wanted me to, like, really over-explain this, we would be here 4 hours, and I'm not joking. Like, it would be 3 hours minimum, probably more. But anyway, we're gonna go T2, just so I can show you what that looks like. This, again, is for when you have more metal than you know what to do with, and you know that you're ahead of your opponent in terms of resources. Many people see T2 in the context of teching on glitters, which is a specific map in the game, and they think that, oh, that's something you do on every map. That is completely wrong. Glitters is a weird special case. It's an 8v8 map, and you basically have 7 people working together to make sure that you can tech without dying. That's not how any other map works, with maybe a couple exceptions. But that's not a good default mindset to have. So for those of you who this is not your first introduction to the game, let me just make that one thing incredibly clear for you. Anyway, we're doing a little bit of harass here. This is always good to keep the pressure on. It's, if nothing else, it counts as scouting, but in this case it's going to be more than that. That's an advanced solar that I really wish I could have killed, but I did get good damage. I got some mexes and so on and so forth. And yeah, we get T2 up now. I'm going to build a T2 builder. I'm going to area mex all of these safe mexes, and then I'm going to shift queue into all of these other ones. And after that T2 builder, we got a couple of butlers. These guys are good for a couple of things. Number one, they, excuse me, sorry. I just got back from the bar, can you tell? I went from the bar to the bar, if you know what I mean. But, these butlers are very good at, moving around quickly so they can keep up with anything. They can catch up with your builders, and they can contribute build power. They also, on top of that, are very good at building wind turbines. And some maps, wind is better than others. So if you're on a map where the wind speed is, I don't know, maybe, say, 14 or above, the average wind speed, then wind is considered OP, and you should build it. I don't know why my turrets didn't go up over here. I might have interrupted that build queue. But in any case, I have a leak that I need to clean up here. I'm going to get a radar up to help deal with that. I'm going to send these 5 dudes over to help as well. Yeah, I was not paying attention to that. I'm sorry, there's really a lot of shit to keep track of. If you think this game is hard, try playing it and talking at the same time. Now, versus Centurions, higher health units that fire plasma shells are a great choice. They're going to be able to burst down that high HP pool very quickly. They have enough staying power to do that effectively. And so that's why I switched into these guys a while ago. You definitely want to scout your opponent's unit comp and adjust proactively rather than reactively. Now, I said these guys are good for wins. I'm going to build a couple of rows of width 2 here. I do not go for width 3. They will chain react. If this dude got in over there and got a hit, it would be a devastating hit. You get the idea. And I'm going to send this guy over here. Now, these T2 mexes, 640 metal a pop to build these. However, once you build them, they give you, I think, like 4x roughly. I don't know exactly what it is. It might be exactly 4x. Let's check it. Okay, from 1.9 to 7.5 metal per second. So do the math yourself. I don't care. Get your calculator app out.
T2
you can figure this out.
detected.
Now, my opponent has also gotten T2. This is a mark of the plus 30% income that I've given my opponent. Ordinarily, you would not be able to afford that off of the level of resources that this guy has. However, I've basically allowed this. Now, good choices here. There's a lot of units that you can build. Spiders are good when you've got cliffs. However, the interesting stuff that my opponent has is not near cliffs, so we're not going to do that. Sprinters are good if you're in deep shit and you need to, like, basically plug leaks fast with fast units. Welders are good if you want a strong front line. Gunslingers are good versus T1. Fat boys have great splash damage, so you group up like 5 of those and you can make a really strong push against pretty much anything. Sharpshooters are very good in combination with tick spam, and so that's actually... this is such overkill for this game. But just to give you an idea of like one way of basically auto-winning a game, let me show you sharpshooters and ticks. So I'm going to start making sharpshooters, and I'm going to make them one-to-one with welders. The welders are my front line, and the sharpshooters are my DPS. Or they're really more burst damage than DPS, but they're the damage output within this comp. And I'm going to retake these mexes while I'm doing that. And what I'm doing over here is building a bunch of labs. Now, at the start of the game, you only want one lab. It's better to concentrate your build power on one lab than to make multiple labs. However, there is a very small window of time in which units are moving off of the build pad and cannot like clear the area fast enough. Basically, there's a little window where you're waiting for a unit to get out of the way so you can build the next one. And if you're at the point where that becomes a problematic delay for you to wait through, that's when you need multiple labs. The other case where they're useful is if you want to set multiple rally paths for them. And that's what we're going to be doing here, is basically... I'll show you in a second. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Okay, but this actually is a sizable force out of my opponent. This is something that a real player would be pushing a lot more proactively with this, and I would be in a lot deeper shit. But luckily the AI is stupid and dumb, so I don't have to worry about that. But what I'm doing here is I'm selecting my T1 labs. I turn them all on repeat. I'm going to set queues to spread out the units. I do the first one in friendly territory so that they spread out quickly. And they're not spreading out once they reach the enemy, in which case they could die to splash damage before they spread out. Now I'm holding down shift, and I'm queuing a bunch of rally points for these guys. Now, I'm going to queue up ticks on these. What's going to happen here, I'll show you when these come out in just a moment. And I'm going to build some more build turrets that are only in range of these labs to make sure they stay boosted. Is basically, these guys are going to blanket the map in cheap units. This has a couple of advantages. The big one is vision, okay? When you have a radar lock, these are not perfectly precise radar locks. And so very often, if you shoot at a radar lock with a unit that can shoot farther than it can see, like this sharpshooter, then you're going to be in a situation where it's going to miss a lot. And you're going to waste resources on that. However, if you have vision everywhere, then that's not a problem. The other thing is going to be if your opponent has weak spots that you don't know about, then spam can very easily expose those. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, is like that mex, I didn't know I could have gone for that. But I could have, and I did, because of the spam showing me. Now, my sharpshooters I'm going to redirect over here defensively. I'm worried about this coming in. And so I'm like, let me just preempt that. But my frontline units, I want to hold the aggressive front line. This is going to cut off reinforcements. And I need to be aware, if these dudes come back, then I will not be able to hold this line, which is what's happening right now. But sort of as a corollary of that, by moving up here, I'm forcing this backward movement, right? And so now, as long as I stay out of the way, I'm preventing the flank from happening. What the fuck, man? Once again, my turrets have not gone up. I genuinely don't understand. Maybe it's obvious to you spectating, but not to me. But this sort of, I guess, goes to show you that you can still win a game even when shit goes wrong for you. This over here is a fat boy. This is sort of what I was talking about. Those guys have excellent splash damage, excellent burst damage, and so a counter to them actually is tick spam. This is another strong advantage of tick spam, is it basically baits the opponent into firing on worthless units rather than firing at high-value targets. Because to the AI, everything looks the same, right? So this is going to fire at whatever's in range, but if the majority of things in range are useless, it's not going to be making useful shots. I don't know if that makes sense, but there you go. Now, I'm actually kind of amazed that we're still low on energy. Snipers do require energy to fire. A lot of people think snipers are overpowered. This is one of the things that balances them out. Let's select them. And you can see that little energy logo showing that they're bottlenecked on energy. It's energy per shot 500. So, for a unit that costs, you know, what's a mace? 1300? Almost half of the energy cost of that mace is paid by me in killing it. So, like, it might feel like a huge difference, and it's a small difference because I'm still gaining an advantage in terms of metal, but, like, it's not for free that I'm killing this, right? However, it is, frankly, very low APM. APM meaning actions per minute, for me to do this. And so I do still... you know what I bet it is when I'm bottlenecked on energy, the laser turrets can't fire either. And so they're probably just dying in dumb ways. But now... Here, let's do it like this, where we're going to spread that out and then go back like that. And you can adjust this on the fly, by the way, like I just did. Don't be afraid of it. But now we're going to be moving into snipers that we do have. I'm going to cut out the welders at this point. I don't think I need them. I think we can focus on spamming snipers. And this is, frankly, overkill. This is sort of arguably a toxic way to win a game. This is going to depress the hell out of your opponent. But it is sort of an inexorable tide. When you know you have a strong eco lead, this is one way of taking that eco lead and trading it into a game win. Right, and I say that because the energy cost of playing this way is substantial. But nevertheless, you know, it does work. So there you go. It does work if you can afford it, let me be clear. And yeah, you can see again, I had a slight error with my rally points that was preventing me from getting vision of that region. And so enemy units in that region I was not killing. And so they're allowed to get to my snipers to get into closer range than I would ideally want. And if you're looking at sniper counterplay, that's one thing to look for, is like, where are the blind spots in the spam? Where are the opponent's rallies set to? Now notice also, by the way, fight command. Fight command is your best friend. I'm fight commanding rather than move commanding a lot of this stuff. Gonna grab that, and man, I don't know. These leaks keep happening. And I'm not catching them when they happen, and it's frankly annoying me a little bit, but also, it's not going to lose me the game. Now, one thing I could have done a while ago that I'm going to do now is getting a reactor up, a fusion reactor. This is probably... I mean, there's a lot of sources of energy that are, like, kind of good. I would say winds are very good and fusions are very good. And everything else is sort of a stopgap measure, but these are the two things that are going to be the backbone of your gameplay. So I'm going to drop that over here. You've got two options for a fusion. You've got the normal and the advanced fusion. The advanced fusion, aka APHIS, is very expensive.
T3 unit detected.
Oh shit, we're up to T3. Okay, snipers luckily are good versus that. Okay, let me talk about that in a second here, but for now we're just going to get this up. Yeah. Snipers are very good against T3 because they actually have huge burst damage, and T3 units, obviously one tier better than T2, are extraordinarily strong, but they still do have a limited health pool. So if you can burst them down before they get in range, then you can still survive versus them. Now, one exercise that I like to recommend for people, it's kind of goofy, but I like it, is to win a game using only tick spam. Try doing that. It's harder than you think, but you will learn a lot about how to macro, how to scale. It's a good exercise to do. Now, okay, I've gotten my first fusion up, and now you can see I'm wasting energy, because this thing is producing 1k energy, so I'm going to get a energy converter. This is an advanced one, rather than a normal one. The normal ones do 70 energy to 1 metal per second. This does 600 to 10.3. So obviously a much better ratio, and also much more of like a bulk discount, if you will. So, this is much better to get. Building your normal reactors once you, or excuse me, your normal converters once you have access to the advanced ones is actually harmful to your team, because it's basically making you make less money out of the metal that you're making. Excuse me, the energy that you're making. Now that was a very scary turret, but luckily I killed it before it went up, and now I'm getting close to the enemy commander. If this was a player, they would have cloaked this, they would have moved it back here. However, this is a dumb robot that does not understand such things, and so we're going to be able to snipe it with these dudes pretty quickly here. Let's see how long that takes. Not long at all. Literally less time than it takes me to finish the sentence. So there you go, that's another game. And that one was just as easy as the last ones, and that's plus 30%. So if I can do that while I'm talking the whole time, and while I'm, you know, missing all these important things, then hopefully you can do it as well. You know, learn from my example. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to create this many new apps with the same profile. Okay, 2, I think. I never do this, but let me try this. I genuinely don't know. I might lose this game, but I've never tried this before. But we're doing it live. This is going to be the last one. And if I win this, I'm going to be very happy about it. I'm going to play... what am I going to do? I might play Cortex for this one. Cortex is what I play more of. It's sort of my comfort pick.
Please choose your starting location.
I've been playing Armada because it's the default, and I've been forgetting to change it. However, I like Cortex as well. Now, but yeah, check out the names. I just think it's so fun that they have like real usernames here. It adds some flavor to the game that a lot of games are sorely lacking. But okay, so I'm going to lock in here. This is a full 3v3. I wonder if I should have given my guys the bonus as well. Maybe like a 10% or something. But this is what I did. We're sticking with it.
Battle started.
Okay, so my dudes spawn here and here, which are the correct spawns. So far, so good. And we're basically just going to hope for them to not die. If this were a real 3v3 I was playing with humans, I would spawn over here, because I like to be able to expand over here. This is a shitload of metal, and I like... If basically I can play the micro minigame well enough to secure all of that for myself, then that means I'm going to be in a good position to carry the game, because I'm going to have a lot of resources to work with. And as a strong player, you basically need to think about, like, what is the edge that I'm going to capitalize into a win, right? What am I looking for in order to make this game turn out in my favor? Because you start out with equal resources, equal everything to your opponent, except in this case where they get plus 30% because they're AIs. In a real game, you start out with everything equal. It's an even playing field, and the only thing that brings you ahead is your choices, and you want to set yourself up to have the option to make good choices that'll be, you know, high utility for you. And generally, quick access to lots of metal is going to be the #1 thing that'll make a difference in your games. If you're starting near very little metal, then you need to have a strategy that relies on having very little metal, or at least is okay with having very little metal. And that's like, frankly, that's like airplay and nothing else. Fascinating, this guy has in fact gone air. That's a bad decision. And real player over here going vehicles, that's a better decision, but vehicles can't go up this ridge here, I think. So both of those are actually bad choices, and we are going to have to do some serious carrying to survive in this setting. Okay. Let me focus up here a little bit. I'm going to be maybe slowing down on the commentary a little bit because I actually don't want to lose this. That would be embarrassing. I don't think it'll happen, but we'll see. Alright. So far, so good. A little bit of scouting going on. I like this. It would be nice to get the mechs. I don't think it's possible. I'm sending these guys over here just to see if they can catch any early expansion taking place.
Aircraft spotted.
Okay, the opponent has also gone for air. That's gunships, which is frankly a little scary. So I'm going to throw down a single anti-air tower. Missiles suck ass. This anti-air turret that the commander can make, they are very weak, very low DPS. They're good at killing, like, scouts, or basically nothing else. For anything else, you want, like, 10 of them for them to be effective. A individual one, or even just a few of them, will do nothing for you. But they're what the con makes, and so you can get them up quickly, and that is nice in its own right, even if their utility is limited. So, getting one of those, basically just to protect me against gunship harassment, and I do expect that if I pushed out on the field, I would be subject to that gunship harassment. Speaking of pushing out onto the field, I need to think about what metal spots are going to be mine. If the AI takes all of them, I'm going to be in a bad way. So I need to sort of start moving out like now. I'm going to switch over into... yeah, I'm going to be greedy. This is something I would not recommend in a game with other players. In a game with... in a game with other players, I would recommend playing your lane, letting other people expand where they will. In this case, I'm going to try to preempt green in getting to these metal spots, because I want that metal, because I think I can carry harder than green can. And that's sort of a toxic decision that I'm only really okay with making when my ally is not a real human being. Now over here, that's interesting. This is the air guy. Yep, there's the gunships that I was worried about. Now, versus gunships, pawns aren't that good. I'm actually going to cancel this repeat queue. And we're going to do a different thing here. Yeah, nice thing about air is you're not going to be able to defend yourself that well against grounded attacks. Like, your gunships are really your only defense, and if you're bringing them out on the map, you're helpless at home. You need basically turrets or something of that nature to get by, which clearly they don't have. Now, I'm going to go into vehicles rather than bots, and I'm going to switch fairly early here. And you can see what I'm going to do in a moment. Basically, the idea is I want to get missile trucks, which are the T1 anti-air tank. Oh, come on, man. How did that get in there? I've got a whole line of dudes. Come on. This is... Yeah. Yeah, truly, this is the problem with playing with AIs versus players. You simply cannot... He's even going to try to steal the mechs from me. My man, they're going to kill it. You can't do that. Yeah, you can't rely on them to defend anything. So this might, frankly, be a loss. This might be a lost game, but we're going to try our best here. And the difference between this and the last game is simply just that if there's 3 of them instead of 1, then... Oh, come on, man. And that's not going to catch him, but it is going to catch me. Because he didn't keep bringing... Okay, I think I can reclaim... Oh, there's 2 of them. No, this dude's just dead. Unless a miracle happens. We are going to stick to the plan, though. We are going into whistlers, lashers, whatever the fuck. But yeah, we're getting outmassed here. And this is going to be dicey. These are horribly positioned. They don't cover the whole ramp. That's really, really trash. Lashers are nice once you get them massed up. So I'm just going to hope that we don't die before I hit that critical point with them. And watch along to see if that happens. But yeah, once again, turrets in mid going to be very important. I'm also going to throw up an anti-air turret behind them. In this case, truly the enemy does for the first time massively outmass us on ground. So I think this is especially important to have those turrets up. Because that's basically how you play from behind. Now, if I could get a fat D-gun here... Okay, I'm even going to D-gun one of my own dudes, simply because it's worth it. Now, you need 500 energy to D-gun, which is why I'm not rapid-firing them. But I am firing them fast enough to where it works. And that really... that made up for a lot right there. That saved our ass, frankly, to a large degree. That was good. I don't know what this is. What is the idea there? I gotta build this before my... I almost said opponent before my ally gets to that. Okay. I don't need to be as careful with my commander here, because we do have 3 of them. However, I certainly don't want to give it away for free. If nothing else, that's a lot of resources that I give to the opponent, and I don't like that. That, by the way, is one big reason why I'm doing this with the missile trucks as well, as they have long range, and so they can trade very efficiently. And so if you're down on resources, then being very resource efficient with the units that you do have is one way you can make up for that deficit. So that's the basic idea there. They also are very nice in that you can see that their line of sight is equal to their range. A lot of units have range longer than their line of sight, which means you need to combine them with spotter units. For example, that Janus there was unable to hit me for that very reason. But these dudes are able to see as far as they can shoot, which means that you can sort of spam them as a single mono-unit army, I guess you could say, which is nice. There's not a lot of units that work well like that in this game, and that's one of the few that really... I think at T2, the T2 Lightning trucks, right, the Jaguars, are another example of one that works like that. But that sort of thing is rare, right? What just happened over here? I'm not sure. Maybe a wreck from a plane crashing into metal converters? Wrecks can still do damage even if you shoot down the planes, which is kind of fucked up, but it's true. And yeah, basically just figuring out how I'm going to lock those down. Okay, over here, that's 2 turrets, so I don't think I can fight that. If it was 1 turret, I'd be into it. 2 is too many. But we can go over here, and this is some good damage. Okay, that's a beamer. We can stand outside of its range. And then we're just going to fight command in, which basically says keep outside its range until you literally cannot continue doing that, until that becomes unsustainable. And we're trying to stand at the base of buildings to block its line of sight for as long as possible. Some damage there. You know, you take what you can get in this kind of a game. And this actually is more representative of a real game. It's not entirely so. For example, green has fully failed to understand the meta of the maps, so we have not secured either flank. Which, in a real game, I would say it's basically game over for that reason. In this game, I trust the AIs to make as many mistakes as they make good plays. Which, frankly, you can also very often trust real players to do the same. But, you know, it's up to a point, right? It depends on how strong they are. But yeah, so basically, this is a tricky one, but I'm doing my best to lock it down. Oh boy, it's just hit the fucking Windows key for a second. I hope that didn't mess up the stream. It looks like we're good. But yeah, doing the trick with the 2 control groups here so that I can keep some of them in mid. One thing that I know about the AIs is that they don't generally like to walk into long-range units until they have, like, obliteratingly huge numbers advantages. So by having these here and keeping them alive, I'm sort of delaying that push in mid by a lot. Actually, pushing into these is the correct move, because you want to close the gap with them as quickly as possible, but you need a numbers advantage for that to be a good play, right? Like, you need to know that after you close the gap, you will still have enough of a lead to where you can beat these things. Now, this is a huge play over here. This is also not so bad. If you've got 2 metal per second as your income rate, and you've got 50 metal to build the metal extractor, then it follows that you need 25 seconds for it to pay itself off. I don't know if we're going to hit that on these, but I like the attempt. Similarly, I don't know if we did hit that for the opponent over here, but I think they made the right call as well in trying for it. Oh, I forgot that now that I'm out of bots and into vehicles, my constructors cannot climb this hill anymore, which is actually really bad for me, because it means I have to go around here to get back here to build the metal. So that's no good. But once again, you know, this is hopefully fine. We'll see. We will see. If it is fine, then the way that I'm going to pull it off is through eco-scaling. I'm going to stay alive long enough to outscale my opponent, because the AI is not very good at efficiently scaling its economy. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about here, is like, how do I walk the razor's edge of almost dying but not quite? And am I doing it successfully? Could I do it better? What can I change? Basically just paying attention to that. It's a feedback system, right? It's like you're constantly making the plays that you think are going to work, and then you're measuring whether they do work, and you're adjusting what you do based on that result. You know, you're trying to keep the system stable. You're trying to spin your plates and throw off your opponent's plates. And right now, I'm feeling okay about it. These missile trucks, this many of them, these would die to medium tanks, right? If my opponent just massed these dudes right here, brutes, then I would just get walked on and I would die. However, the AI does not understand how to make that decision of committing to a push and, like, when do you have enough units for that to be a good idea, things of that nature. It's not good at that. And that's basically what I'm capitalizing on here with my long-range units. Frankly, a lot of players don't make that decision well either. So maybe this is actually like a representative thing. That is, you know, maybe this does represent something you can learn from. I don't know. One thing that I've basically ignored in this game, that is a huge part of the game, is reclaim. 400 metal on the ground right here, 900 over here. That is a huge deal. If you are playing bots, then you have access to res bots, which are capable of reclaiming or resurrecting units. You can see a bunch of those here. Yellow has them. Those should be mobilized on the ground, eating all this metal. I mean, it's a huge amount of metal, and it's frankly wasteful to not reclaim it. So I am going to send my commander up, because I just can't look at it anymore. I mean, like, you look, I get 22 metal per second here, right? So 997 metal. How many seconds is that? Do the math. It's a lot. 400? That's a lot. That's effectively getting you, what is it, like 20 seconds ahead, ballpark, on the 400 metal field? Now, I don't want this guy to die again. I would lose my mind if that happened for the nth time here. I'm going to turn off repeat, because it is 15 minutes into the game, and we need to think about scaling. T2 is going to show up soon, if it hasn't yet, for my opponents. I'm frankly surprised I haven't seen it yet. So, I mean, like I said, T2 is not a comeback mechanic, but it is something that should be on your mind. And in particular, if I can secure 1,000 metal in reclaim, that's enough where I'm like, between that and what I'm saving up, I can justify going T2. I'm going to throw down some storages before I do it, though, and I'm also going to eat my T1 lab, but I'm not going to eat it yet. By eat it, I mean reclaim it, and that's basically going to allow me to get all of the metal invested in that lab back, which is, what is it, 720 metal, which is a lot. So that's a huge win to get that back. And that's something that, like, if you ever see someone going T2 and they still got their T1 lab up, it's kind of like, okay, what are you doing? Right, you got the wrong idea. Like, either you're just so absurdly metal rich that you don't even need to think about efficiency, or you don't know how to play the game. Okay, here we go. We can actually push in here now. These Centurions just have so much health that, like, my chip damage from the missile trucks is not doing shit to them. But I'm going to reclaim that, and I'm hopefully... Okay, this is now up to 2k metal. That's simply too much to ignore, so I'm bringing my comm in. If my comm dies, it's not the end of the game. If all three of our comms die, that is the end of the game. However, I see this one is in base, this one is in base. I do not expect that to change. I don't like the level of trust that I have to put in my stupid computer allies here, but at the same time, you gotta make compromises sometimes, and, you know, what's life without a little risk? So we are basically doing our best here to secure this reclaim field, get that T2 online. And another thing, if this was a real game, that I would emphasize doing very heavily is sharing T2 cons with your team. I might actually do that. I don't know, though. I'm definitely going to help myself first. Put your own gas mask on before helping others, as they say. Gosh, these leaks just keep happening. That's really frustrating. But again, you simply cannot allow yourself to get tilted. You gotta have a strong mental. Truly, that's the #1 tip that I would impart to new players. And it might sound trite, it might sound cliche. It is. But guess what? It's a cliche for a reason, motherfucker. It's also just an important thing that you need to be good at the game. Now notice T2 vehicles, there's no, like, helper builder, like the butler. It's literally just T2 con and that's it. So this is a thing where it's like you might want to keep around some
T2 unit
T1
detected.
cons if you're going for this. Note, by the way, the insane value that these turrets have gotten over the course of this game. Really substantial. Non-negligible, I would say. And I'm gonna run... Oh, I can't get him over here because it's vehicles. That sucks. That really sucks, dude. What are you gonna do, though? But yeah. Okay, I'm starting to worry about my comm, because there's just a lot of shit on the field here. But, I mean, this metal is too good to pass up. I am going to start on repeat queue, just getting Tigers. These are heavy-duty tanks. These are the real deal. These guys, very, very strong. Absolutely what you want to have in your front line. So we're going to start making those. We're also going to think about scaling our economy a little bit. Cortex is a little bit better. Oh, god damn. We might be in trouble here with the comm. That's a lot of tanks. This is what I was saying, is the Stouts can just walk all over this long-range army that I have here, especially once they close the distance. That only took them 19 minutes to figure that out. 3K metal on the ground, but I'm not going to see any of it. I am going to send my comm back to boost this T2 builder, and I'm going to similarly have my T1 cons do the same thing. This push is starting to look scary. I'm not going to lie to you, this does have me concerned. But the game's not over yet, right? Now, the main thing I'm going to think about here is I don't want these metal spots to stay up for my opponents. And luckily I can outrange any turrets that they'll have in place with these missile trucks, so as long as they stay alive, they are still bringing that utility in for me. And that's a big deal. So let's try to get that value out of them for as long as possible before they die. We are getting pushed in here. Red is pushing hard. And of course, you don't love to see it. I do have T2 tanks versus T1. However, this guy went air, which is not ideal. I do think that, like, with human players, with, like, just the tiniest little skosh of coaching, it would be possible to win this game trivially easily. I do not think necessarily that these AIs are rising up to that standard. That's a little disappointing to see, but it's also maybe inevitable. I think maybe I should have given them a boost too. Maybe like a 10 or 20%. But I mean, the game's not over yet, and this is, again, the most important thing to understand is that tenacious mentality. The way I like to put it is you might have lost the game, but make them work for it. And again, that's something that, like, applies more in some contexts than others. The way I like to explain it, basically, is think about, okay, what are the advantages that each team has? And in particular, do we have anything that they don't have? If the answer is no, then you should fucking give up. In this game, I don't think we have anything that they don't have in terms of, like, actual stuff in the game. The thing that we have that they don't have is a human being, right? Like me, that's the difference. And so that's, like, the one thing that's keeping me hanging on here. If this were bots versus bots, I would have already called it. I would have put all my money on the red team. Yeah, put all my money on red. Oh, goddamn, they bombed me. How dare you? That's alright, it's just my metal converters. Those are the T1 ones. I don't really want those anyway. But yeah, this is... I mean, I do expect, like, T3 to be showing up before too long here. And that's no good, right? But in theory, if we can keep scaling eco at home, then, like, maybe we can make this work. Ooh, oh god, that's so scary to see. Yeah, I think we're gonna lose this one, I'm not gonna lie. And I hate to end on a loss, but what are you gonna do, man? I didn't test this out. I did not test drive this. I'm not one of those streamers who can't handle being embarrassed on stream and needs to make sure everything's gonna be 100% perfect. Oh, I need to do a trial run. I need a test screener. No, man. No. We're doing it live. We're just gonna have some fun with it. And more than anything, I think this actually is me modeling a positive mindset for players to have. Because, like, simply, like, the mental fortitude that it takes to be in this situation and keep going is more than any single mechanical tip that I could give you. This is the most important thing that you can have in the game. And I don't mean to play impossible games. If the game is fully lost, then go next. But this game is not fully lost yet. You need to make them work for it, right? They've been trying to push in for like 5+ minutes, and it has not yet succeeded. So, like, make them work for it, right? Now, I do have a gut feeling that it's about to succeed. And we'll see, right? But yeah. And one thing to emphasize is the longer they push in without succeeding, they're leaving wrecks on the ground. This is 2.5k metal that they collected, and that they turned into units, and that they ran it over here, and they dropped it on the ground for us. So that is a comeback mechanic, right? People think T2's the comeback mechanic. No, it's not. This is. So that's like, genuinely, if I was going to say, what do we have that they don't? You know, aside from the silly answer of, oh, we have me, the answer is we have free metal. Do you see Rex over here? No, you don't. Now, granted, you do see mexes. You do see metal spots, and that's pretty scary. But my point being, I don't think we're out of it yet, because I'm taking that metal, I'm converting that into economy. Now, I need to be careful here to manage it correctly, right? But if I can do so, then, like, maybe we're not out of this yet. Maybe it's not fully over. Now, as soon as the T3 shows up, I'm going to start sweating pretty hard, I'm not going to lie. But it hasn't happened yet. And that's another thing that's valuable to have in a game. It's like an understanding of, like, not only what's happening now and what are you worried about now, but, like, what's going to be happening in a few minutes, right? Like, what are the next story beats, if you will, in the story of this game? And, like, you should know what they're going to be, whether they're happening ahead of schedule or behind schedule. Things of that nature, I think, are very valuable to understand. Now, I'm throwing down a T1 lab because I want to build more build turrets. T2 builder cannot build those. If I went bots, then the T2, the Twitcher, they call it, the T2, like, support builder can do that, but I did not go bots. I probably should have, actually, in hindsight. I don't know, because my role is to play mid and to have that staying power in mid. However, the guy over here has the role of going over that hill that he cannot traverse with vehicles. So, it's this thing of, like, how much do I want to play my role versus how much do I want to, like, go into what the rest of the team should do as their role. I do wonder, again, if I took that carry position on the side, would this game still be in this state, or would we be winning right now? Should I be stubborn and just play with these same settings again, but just take that spot? Or should I, you know, adjust the settings to give my allies a bigger bonus? I don't know. I'm trying to decide. I feel like a 10% is not the craziest thing in the world. Give them a 10% bonus, right? I mean, I guess it depends on if we win or lose this game, which, like, we're very close to losing, but again, it hasn't happened yet. And yeah, you see that 1 second delay. It might even be longer than a second. Maybe it's 2 seconds. Now, these Scorpions, these pop-up Sabot batteries, which, by the way, Sabot is a word I did not know until I started playing this game. I think of myself as having a good vocabulary, but that one had somehow escaped me. Which I forget exactly what the technical definition of it is, but it's a certain kind of projectile that's basically shot very fast in a special way. I'm gonna get a few Quakers out. These guys, artillery, are gonna help me a lot. They can sit around the Scorpions and basically extend the effective range of those Scorpions, right? Because the Scorpions have limited range, but a lot of damage, which means that it's hard to push into their range. So if you take long-range units and sit them next to those guys, then now those long-range units, which are weak at like short range, basically have bodyguards to keep them alive. And so that's actually very strong. And now, yeah, let's just keep scaling eco here. And this is the thing, right, is that if the opponent is investing all their shit into units, then you're probably going to die. But if you can somehow hold and scale eco, then you'll survive. And I do not want the takeaway for you to be, oh, when you're dying, scale eco. That's, like, fully wrong. Basically, what I'm saying is, I don't know if this game is going to be over in the next minute. It easily could be if these guys played correctly. But if the game is still going in a few minutes, then I want to be in that game. I want the game to be a playable one for me at that point in time. Which, again, depends on surviving. And if you're not going to survive, don't do this. But I am gambling on the static defenses and the poor micro of my opponent and these ridiculous gunships somehow being enough to make that work. So, yeah, this is something that I don't try this at home. Do not do this versus people. But, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. And I'm basically skill checking the AIs here and saying, you don't actually know how to do a coordinated push. And so I'm going to I'm going to gamble on you not succeeding in this push that you're making. And it is a gamble. It should be understood as such. And if you're playing with real people, then it's actually really shitty to force them to make a gamble without discussing it, right? That's something that you should... God, my mouth is dry. Go over as a team, rather than just sort of doing it and then getting mad if they don't somehow read your mind and know that that's what's happening and agree that it's the right choice, right? Be polite with your team about this stuff, but in a single-player game, this is what we're going to do. So, again, if they pushed here, we would be so dead. And they've got bots, so it's not like they couldn't, right? They have all the tools to make that push and make it good. But they're just not doing it.
T3 unit detected.
Okay, where's the T3? There it is. And it's just one Marauder, so I'm not scared of it yet. I mean, I am scared of it, but, like, also, I'm living in fear in this game. No, I'm going for normal fusions over Aphis here. Aphis is more metal efficient in terms of the metal cost versus the energy produced. Normal fusions go up faster. And that's why I'm favoring them, is they interrupt my unit production for a smaller window of time. And that makes them very attractive to me. Okay, that Starlight has a long range, and so that's gonna basically diff my whatchamacallums, my artillery. Let's get some more missile trucks out. It's been a while since we had some of those. Okay, now 2 fat boys over here. So we are going to just jump on those and shut that down. Yeah, definitely a unit that requires support. Incredibly strong on its own right, but requires support to be effective. And we're going to spread these anti-air trucks throughout the region, as we should. Let's grab that metal spot also. And yeah, basically what we're doing is we're trading. We're saying, okay, we're not going to take metal on the map, but we're going to produce metal at home. Now, the ratios of energy cost to metal produced are much worse. This is 7.5 metal for 20 energy. This is 10 metal for 600 energy. So do not think that this is like a one-for-one replacement, but it is the option that's available to us, right? So we're just going to do it, because we don't have a choice. Interesting. Marauder over there, getting ready to flank. And a Razorback. God, this is really bad, frankly. This is scary shit. And there's not a good vehicle counter for this, frankly. So I am going to go T3 at this point, which I don't entirely feel. I think 100 metal per second is just barely enough to be able to afford that. Like just barely enough. You're right on the cusp of it. But again, it's the option that's available to me. Okay, so let's please take that guy down. Don't let him get away. Ah, fuck me. Okay, that's a huge push that we need to respond to. And yeah, we're gonna eat the T2 lab because that's 2,800 metal right there. Oh my god, green is still on T1 metal extractors. Unacceptable. We are going to donate a... Oh my god. Okay, I didn't know that would happen mechanically. With an actual player, it'll keep the ordered commands if you share that unit, but apparently that doesn't happen when it's being shared to an AI. So that's something nice that you can do for, like, humans, is to basically queue up what they're going to want their T2 builder to do, which is usually just to build a ton of metal extractors.
T3 unit is ready.
And that way it's, like, less APM intensive for them. So it's just a considerate little thing you can do to help out your teammates. But apparently if you try to do it with bots, then fuck you for trying. Alright, we're getting Shivas out here. I like Shivas a lot. It's a classic frontline unit, heavy hitter. Certainly not the heaviest hitter, they're actually sort of on the lighter end of the T3 spectrum. But there's no weak T3 units, except perhaps for the hovercraft, which I would never build. I think that's basically a unit that you only build when you want to be rude. And not just rude, but like openly disrespectful would be perhaps the better way to phrase it. Okay, and you can see that Razorback, that T3, doing a number on my T2 front line. And in particular, I don't want to lose that anti-air. I need this metal. This is so scary, because they've got starlights at the front, and those can burst down a comm like you wouldn't believe. But, I mean, this is 10k metal. That's so much. These Shivas are 1,500 metal for reference, for scale. Alright. And yeah, definitely the Razorback is the stronger unit one-on-one, but I have enough dudes that I'm able to make this work. I do still have the numbers advantage. Getting EMP'd there, that must mean there's ghosts on the field. But they're not really being used effectively, so that's a little strange, I gotta say. And now that I'm getting Shivas out, I actually do feel better here about my chances with this front line.
Plasma cannons are targeting units.
Man, cannot catch a break. Oh boy, okay. Now, let's see, this is when I think we go back to eco-scaling. We're overflowing energy, so we're going to build some converters. And then we're also going to get another fusion up. What is that guy doing, just sitting there? I really want to find and destroy the starlights. That would be a huge win in my book. And there they are. You can see what direction they're firing from, so that tells you where you need to walk. It does not tell you how far you need to go, but you know, a start is a start, right? And they're building a lot of high-tech units without a lot of front line to keep those units alive, which essentially means that the thing they're weak to is just walking up into their face and punching them. Which I'm certainly happy to do. They do have, you know, snipers and so on. So it's certainly not trivial to do what I'm saying, but it can be done. Okay, and there's another starlight, so we're gonna walk in this direction now. And yeah, again, I was talking earlier about closing the gap. This is sort of the danger, is that if you don't have enough units to close the gap, then your opponent has an army and they have a wreck field in front of them. And so then it's a win-win for them. And that's kind of what we just saw, is that I was like, okay, I really want to push with my Shivas, now that I actually have something that can stand and fight, and I got arguably a little greedy there. And if this was real players, then that plasma cannon would be targeting our economies, targeting our build power, and it would be game over so fast.
Radar lost.
Okay, yeah, they got my high ground radar. I'm not surprised about that. I'm gonna pull back for a moment here so I can mass up units before my push. I don't know how my economy compares to theirs, because obviously I am scaling pretty hard, but obviously they are literally cheating. So, who knows? That's one of those things where it's like, this doesn't build your intuition for real games very well at all. Oof, that hurt. Okay, comm is done. The comm is done reclaiming. No more frontline for the comm. And yeah, I think this is the beginning of the end here. Or actually, this is more like the middle of the end. This is maybe the, yeah, I don't know, Act 3, Scene 1. But, yeah. I mean, if nothing else, the fact that I've held on for 40 minutes here really does underline how much one strong player can do against overwhelming odds. And literally, if we had real teammates, I do think that this would have been a win by now. In fact, this would have been a win maybe 10 minutes ago. Oh, I'm gonna lose my comm here. Oh, they've got vanguards up here, and they're just doing plasma shooting. Oh boy. And that's just, yeah, there's simply no counterplay to that. Actually, there is. It would be to get these plasma deflectors, but the cost of those and the upkeep cost
is heavily damaged.
Is simply so high that it's not viable. Now I'm going to go over and eat that wreck. Rest in peace, Mr. Comm. You will be missed, but your medal will not be, because I'm going to take that right here and right now. And yeah, I mean, if we're going to stay in this game, I am going to build those, right? Like, if the game's not over yet. Excuse me. And I'm going to switch into Karganeths, which are capable of climbing that hill, and therefore making place. But yeah, I mean, there's simply so much damage. So this is frustrating, right? Because it's like I can't push out, but also they're not killing me. So, what the hell? And that is really frustrating, and that makes me want to resign. But once again, I'm going to make them earn it. I'm going to make them earn it. So, instead of resigning, what we're going to do here is we're simply just going to go one card to clear the hill, and then I'm just going to start making APHIS. And I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to scale until I die. Oh, there's a Thor over here. I mean, literally, walk it in. What are you waiting for? I can't even degun that because I don't have a commander left. I'm gonna put this dude on group 4 here, walk him up there. Okay, hopefully this guy can degun that. These... That's no good. This is our last comm.
Warning, your team is down
so
to
that's
its
probably
last commander.
How the game will end. Is that this guy will die to the Thor or something like that. That's unfortunate. Yeah, so arguably if I'd scaled Eco a lot harder here, then we could have won this. Yep, there it is. Alright, good game. Well, it took 42 minutes at least. Yeah, I mean, if I'd just gone full Eco, then maybe we would have had a shot. Let's look at the graphs, though.
Battle ended.
Okay, so I was actually in second place until the very, very end on economy, and that's with the plus 30% that they got. So, I mean, that's quite good, actually. And that's with yellow taking a shitload of mexes in the middle. Yeah, because bear in mind, I really did not have that mad control for obvious reasons. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, hey, I have no regrets. I don't feel bad about that game. And you can see the flat lines from my teammates, which are frankly horrible. So let's give them like a 10%. And add bonus 10%. And then I will change my starting position. And we'll play this again. Because I really do want to end on a win, and I believe that a win is within reach here. Even after that grueling loss that took 40 fucking minutes and frankly has me a little exhausted. This is longer than I intended this video to go. But, we're just gonna do it.
Please choose your starting location.
Okay, deep breath. Let's get it. I'll play, I'm playing Armada this time.
Battle started.
Armada definitely does have the simpler eco-scaling because their wind turbines are cheaper. And their fusion and advanced fusion are more expensive in terms of energy cost. So it's definitely like, it's a trade-off. And they're basically assuming that you're going to have more energy from the winds. So it's meant to balance that out in the late game. But through the mid-game, that scaling is very simple. Now, one thing here that's maybe not obvious, you start with 1,000 energy. Mex costs 500 energy to build. So 2 mexes, in theory, deplete your bank, except that you're making plus 25. So, you can get that third mex up if there's a little bit of walk time to, to bank up a little more energy. And you can do the precise math on, you know, okay, with this much build power, it takes this much time to build the thing. You can work all that out if you're curious. But yeah, the basic gist of it is, if there's a little walking distance, you can get all 3 mexes up without bottlenecking energy. If there's no walk time, then maybe not. Alright, we're doing this proper now.
Low power.
And yeah, I think scaling energy with the commander makes sense in the short term here. I'm going to put these 2 guys on control group 5 because I want the majority of my units going this way. But I want a few in mid just to sort of play goalie as these leaks come in. As you can see here, and this is something where if you're zoomed out, it's very easy to track this stuff. I think a lot of people that come from other games where you can't zoom out sort of don't intuitively recognize just how powerful that advantage is of being able to do that. No. It's not the command I gave, I think. I mean, it must be, because you're doing it, but... And yeah, once you have a few of these dudes, you can pop them in mid here and basically control that whole region. They'll have a hard time running past you without taking damage. Okay. And my winning strategy here, oh boy, is literally just going to be take as much metal for myself as physically possible. Don't kill that. Please don't kill that. Okay. And yeah, watch over here. Just popping a dude there does a lot for you. Obviously, if he gets outnumbered, that's still trouble. But, you know, if it gets outnumbered, then, hey, that's in a certain sense outplayed, or it's a resource allocation issue. But it's not an auto lose, right? Okay, and that's an actual pawn, not just not a spam unit. So we do have to micro kill that. But such a thing can be done. And now we'll up it up to 4 units here. And yeah, look how fast I'm taking these versus how fast that stupid bot took them. I hope I don't seem like I'm being too harsh on the bots, but with all the shit, with all the AI shit going on in the world these days, I do think that we have to take whatever wins we can get while we can get them. Yeah, that'll get him. Okay, yeah, the con bot cannot defend itself, but it does have a surprising amount of health. I can right-click that con bot on my commander to make it assist the commander, so it'll basically just follow the commander around and contribute to the same build queue. It's not as efficient as giving them both the build queue, because it literally has to follow the commander, so it'll like trail behind it a little bit, rather than walking like in sync with it. But, you know, it's better than nothing. Anyway, already you can see the difference here. We are scaling fast and hard. And we're getting a lot of metal, and I'm going to do something extraordinarily greedy, which is I'm going to go for a fast T2. Again, versus players, versus humans, would not recommend. Versus bots, I think that their spam versus my bot's spam is going to more or less cancel out. And I think that having that T2 lab and upgrading my dudes, my mexes, because I have so many metal spots that I have access to, I think that's going to be a huge win, right? Okay, we are going to throw up some turrets of various types.
Low power.
And you'll notice I'm getting anti-air there. I'm also getting beamers, which are better than the turrets that the commander can make. Those are turrets that you get from the con bot. Actually, no, it's too early for this. You need at least, excuse me, as a rule of thumb, at least 300 energy per second to not regret trying to go T2. So I'm going to scale that energy pretty quickly here and do my best to store it all. Have, you know, sufficient energy storage for that. And, yeah, get some anti-air as well. Get that up. And yeah, this looks a lot more like a normal game, frankly, because in the last game, the person in my position did not know how to play it. Excuse me, the stupid robot in my position did not know how to play it. And this game, it's of course me, so anchoring that position for the team is doing us a lot of good here. I would love, yeah, for this anti-air turret to kill that gunship before it gets too much damage on my dudes. And yeah, notice the choke points that I'm holding, and I'm choosing to do this with units rather than with static defenses, simply because if I hit a point where I think it would be advantageous to push, a static defense will not be capable of doing that, whereas units will be. And I have radar, which means I have a radar lock on this dude, so I can put an attack command on him, and even if I lose line of sight, that attack command will stick. It's really frustrating that I'm going to lose that radar, actually. But the explosion from it does kill the tick as well, which is kind of funny. For certain extremely small values of funny. But yeah, okay, now we definitely have enough income to hit that T2. And yeah, I mean, notice it did take several minutes to get there, but we got there. And I think even maybe some converters, right? Not too many, but just a handful. Maybe 6. I'll bring it down to 4. And yeah, I know there's people who comp stomp habitually and mainly play AI games, and I'm sure those people have all kinds of ideas about the AI game meta that are totally alien to me. That's okay, man. I play versus real people, and I'm rated decently. And I'm applying those skills here because I'm trying to use this to simulate a real game in a controlled environment without having to wait in lobby. And we can check after this game if there's any good real games out there that look like they'd be fun to hit up. It's amazing, by the way, how much that 10% difference is making in terms of how well my allies are playing here. I'm actually, it's like, it feels like night and day, truthfully. It's a little bit freaky, I'm not gonna lie. It's more than I was expecting. Like, they're not just falling over, they're making attacks. They're maintaining map presence. And obviously I have T2 up first, so I'm going to area mech all my shit, and then get a butler on helping with that. And you'll notice I've done basically no attacking this game. Because my opponents have that resource bonus, I just don't think it's as worth it, because they can defend whatever I throw at them. I'm not sure. Maybe I should be attacking, maybe that's a mistake. Oh, that's a weird glitch. I shared that to green, and it's showing as orange. Let's see what happens if I share one to blue, to light blue, that is. Oh yeah, it shows up the same.
T2 unit detected.
Funny little star of converters there. It's cute. And yeah, I'm gonna get a couple more butlers after this, just so that I can be pumping out wins with them. And then after that, yeah, we're gonna play it different than last time. I think we're gonna try, I don't know what we're gonna try. Maybe gunslingers. Gunslingers, kind of a goofy unit to mass, but there's a sweet spot right at that transition from T1 to T2, where they are extremely strong, where you've got basically, in that situation where you've got T2 units fighting against T1 units, they're really high utility in those moments. Nope, that splash damage from the Janus shot there. Incredibly powerful. It does friendly fire, and it's a very low rate of fire. But wow, does it work. Oh, what the fuck? How did you get in here? Where did you guys come from? And that's not a chain reaction, by the way. That's only exploding like that because there was continued damage put into them. And these turrets here are going to die. I want you to think of these less like an ironclad defense and more like a speed bump. It's basically saying, if you want to push here, you're not going to do it fast. You're going to give me time to react to what you're doing. And that is the real value of these, is that ability for me to react. Oh, this is great. If you go in there, yes, please. That's really strong. It's enough grunts. I would spread them out more if it was me, but it's enough of them to where I'm confident that that will actually be a high-impact play. You'll love to see it. And for me, I'm getting some units out. I'm staying alive. but I'm not trying to kill yet. I'm trying to get my T2 mixes up. That's my big priority, right? That's how I win this game. Can I capture an allies unit? That's a goofy little mechanic that commanders have, is that you can literally capture enemy units. You have to put things on... You have to make sure not to kill them, which generally means telling your commander to hold fire. So it's like a non-trivial thing to execute in-game. But, oh, you can do it on an allies thing. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so that's... Or maybe it got self-destructed. I'm not entirely... It looked like it got self-destructed there, which is pretty toxic out of my ally to force me to rebuild it. And again, it's toxic out of me to take it, so I don't know what happened there. That's some weird AI interaction bullshit. I am going to send this butler up to reclaim all that shit in mid. And then I'm going to put this on repeat for now. And we're just going to, like, push in. We're going to see how far we can get, right, if we micro these properly. These dudes, they beat basically any T1, and they fight well against some T2. But the main thing is they heal very quickly out of combat. So they're good for, like, quick engagements. If they all get down to half health and then retreat, that's basically ideal. That's sort of the sweet spot. And that's what I'm going to be trying for here. I'm sort of fishing for that, right? Now, this feels a lot better than the last game already. This night and day, frankly. This is so extraordinarily winnable. If we don't win this one, I'm going to be really bummed out about it. But of course, you never know. You never know. You got to be ready for anything in this game. And in life. Let's have these guys help that con. I'm going to send these over to the flank here. Yeah, they can actually shoot at air. They're not going to hit those shots very often, but it's a funny thing that they technically can do that. Okay, I do hear snipers in mid. That was a stupid decision. These tanks should have run in. They absolutely could have cleared those turrets and gotten past them. Now, these snipers in mid are telling me one very simple thing, which is that we need spam in mid. And I'm going to start out a lot more low-key with it than I did last time around, because we have less money to spend this time around. Last time around, the spam was basically a victory lap. It was just like, I can end the game any way I want to, and here's how I choose to do it. This time around, it actually is much more like a tactical choice that's a response to what I'm seeing on the field, which in this case is I'm hearing that distinctive sort of popping sound that comes from snipers. And I'm saying, okay, if you're going to be sniping, I'm going to be, what's the word? Giving you just like chaff, basically, to snipe at. Now, if I stagger these guys back a little bit, then this anti-air can actually help me, which is a huge win, because I'm taking less damage from those gunships. And these guys can fight LLTs no problem, light laser turrets no problem. So I am going to have them do so. What's the average wind speed here? 10.6. It's actually higher than I would have guessed. Okay, there's enough turrets here that I'm like, you can't really actually... This is a tough one to stand and fight. This is going to be costly, right? And it already has been. The main thing is I cannot get degunned. But if I pop that comm, then that kills a lot of buildings. Sort of incidentally, right? And so now I feel a lot better about what's happening here. I would love to get that sniper and run back. I don't think I'm gonna get him. Oof. Especially not with those fat boy shots. I don't know if that's an especially politically correct name, but also it's one of those where it's like, it's kind of funny, frankly. I don't mind it, but now that I'm saying it out loud a lot, I'm like, ooh, I don't know, actually. I don't know if that's the most sensitive to real life fat boys. But, what are you gonna do? It is what it is. Now, this sort of run-by into the backline type situation here, this is real good. This is real good. Especially getting these advanced solars. These things take forever to pay themselves off. And so, I mean, even if they have paid themselves off, like, anytime you can kill them, huge win. Because rebuilding them is costly. Replacing them with something more effective when you're down on eco is also costly. And if I can get this comm, the second one, it just cloaked, so I'm going to run back. And, yeah, okay, now I'm going to go for it again. Because those guys are basically boxed in. So it's like, yep, there it is.
Destroyed.
So now they are down to their last comm. Oh yeah, and I sent this dude over here to take these metal spots. Not expecting those to, like, stay up a long time, but just like, hey, let's try it. Okay, deliberately blew up those converters to put splash damage onto the commander, who is currently cloaked and walking away from me. I thought towards for sure. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna play a little micro minigame here. I'm gonna fully ignore everything except trying to get... Ah, no, never mind. We're not gonna make it work. So quickly I abandoned that plan. I'm gonna go Hounds instead. Hounds are okay. I think they're overrated, frankly. Everyone who plays Hounds wants them to be Sheldons, which are basically the Cortex equivalent to them. But Hounds have such limited range that, like, I just don't think they're nearly as good. But, you know, there definitely is a time and a place for them, just like with most units. And I think for now we're going to try it. While I'm scaling my eco, getting ready to go T3. Technically, I probably could. Go T3, that is. I might do, like... Maybe, like... Gosh, I don't know. Maybe, like, one Aphis. And then T3. And I'm going to get one more Butler out with the alt-click, the good old alt-click, to insert a single copy of a unit into a queue. And then we're going to bring this dude over here. And get a radar bot over there. Yeah, there's a little push over here. We can win this with good micro, though. Basically, it's a lot of just sort of back and forth zigzagging, because that's how you get them to mess up when they lead the shot with their plasma shells. And yeah, with long-range units, when you're engaging, always fight command. Only move command if you're trying to spread them, because that's when you want to guarantee that they will move, or if you're trying to retreat. But if you're moving forward, always fight command, because that sort of prevents them from getting too close. And these dudes outrange the welders, they outrange the fat boys, so as long as I play at range, I think they outrange the fat boys anyway, maybe they don't. Yeah, like I was saying, range on Hounds is frankly not incredible. Kind of weak. I do think they're like probably the most overrated bot in the game. But yeah, okay, so we're getting that Advanced Fusion Online. And as soon as that goes up, I'm going to throw down that experimental gantry next to it, that T3 lab. We're going to eat our T2 lab here for metal. A lot of metal. You always want to be reclaiming that stuff as soon as you can. As soon as you're replacing it with something better, you make sure to not leave that money in illiquid assets, to use a finance term. Yeah. Don't think less of me for using finance terms. They poison my brain. If you listen, if you get one of those fancy tech jobs, you literally do need to learn a little bit of shit about how money works, just so that you're not doing irresponsible shit with the money you get. So like they force you to sort of download a little bit of their worldview into your brain, and you got to do it in a way that doesn't like poison you, which is frankly easier said than done. But like it is possible, and you do got to do it. It's the long story short. So that's a long way of explaining why I use terms like illiquid asset, despite the fact that it makes my fucking skin crawl. I don't even know if that actually is the correct term for it, but, you know, you get the idea. You get where I'm going with this. Anyway, let's win some fucking games. We're gonna make Marauders here, and that'll be plenty. That'll be plenty for the task at hand. Light work, honestly, for the Marauder.
T3 unit is ready.
It's the most beautiful sound in the game. And you might be saying, these ticks are doing nothing. That's horrible. You're kind of right. But they're costing me, what is that, you know, between a ballpark average 5 metal per second and 70 energy per second. Look at my incomes. And then consider defensively all of the shots that they are drawing from all of these opponent units at the front. And basically what they're doing is tanking in a weird way. And allowing my other stuff, my more valuable stuff, to stay alive. So it might look like they're doing nothing, but by dying, they are actually serving their purpose. And it sounds funny, but it's true. One thing that you can do that I'm going to do here, just because I think it's goofy and fun, I don't know if it'll work, you can edge build not just radars, I talked about that earlier, you can also do turrets. And so, for example, if someone else went air and they're building the air mexes, you may not be able to take that mex. That may be out of your build range, but this isn't. Okay, in this case, they actually do already have a turret up there. Of course the AI would do that. Human players very rarely will have that in place. And even if it is in place, you can probably still find a spot like here where it's going to work. Oh, these guys also, by the way, are amphibious. So I'm just going to pop them over there. If you've ever played Supreme Strait, or it's called Isthmus now, Supreme Isthmus, which actually cost me to learn what the fuck that is. It's, I actually forget, but I learned it for a minute. Then you will know, if you've played that map, that these guys can go in the water and surprise you. But in this case, I know that I saw the enemy commander around here, the last one. So I'm just going to pop up here and see if I can spot him. And if nothing else, it's going to be funny because it's going to pull a bunch of units back from the front and, you know, open up that push direction for us. So yeah, let's run these dudes in and just see where that gets us. We're going to focus down the turrets first because that's how we get staying power. And okay, yeah, there's the con. Okay, so those D-guns are to be expected, and they are not to be trifled with. So you need to basically micro carefully to make sure, first off, that you're spread out. There you go. They did resurrect another commander, it looks like. So that did not end the game like I thought it would. I could have checked the commander count in the top right over here to see that, but I did not because I'm dumb. Okay, so there's a second comm. Maybe that was a decoy comm. That's another possibility here. Whatever the case may be, that sucks, but we're still winning super duper hard. So it's hard to be too, like, bent out of shape about it. I'm going to throw some more build power down over here so that I'm getting my T2 out, T3 out even faster. Oh, another thing you can do, I should have mentioned this too. Now that I have vision on the high ground and I know exactly where this is, watch this shit. This is goofy. This is even goofier than edge building the turret. Oh, come on, man, don't embarrass me like this. Not on stream. Not on stream. Ah, whatever. In a lot of cases that will work. Maybe not here, not today. But you get the idea. I don't want to lose my comm. I do want to be careful about that. These dudes do have a little bit of anti-air, these Marauders. I think, if memory serves. Yeah, so let's bring them up. It's a pretty fortified base here. And I don't mean that as a compliment, because that's fortifications that were completely irrelevant until the 30-minute mark in the game. So if the game ended in the first 30 minutes, which frankly it could have, then I would have blamed those. I would have said that was a dumb investment. But they do make my life harder at this point in time. And now at this point, when Marauders start hitting diminishing returns, Razorbacks are a great choice. This is especially true against things like Fat Boys, which have huge damage output. Marauders can be bursted down very easily, but Razorbacks will stay alive a lot longer, and so they can sort of tango with those high burst damage, low rate of fire type units a lot more effectively. Because it takes more volleys to take them out, right? And because their own rate of fire is quite high. So we're going to switch into that here. And where's... I really want to reclaim this. I don't want to use my comm to do it, though. That's a recipe for disaster. Yeah, this is taking longer than it should. And a large part of that is the eco bonus on our opponents here. Another part of that is that I haven't upgraded these mexes, so we're not getting as much as we could have out of them. And I notice Light Blue very rudely deciding not to help me out, walking that con back rather than building the rest of the mexes with it. But yeah, let's just walk in here. And yeah, look at the comparative staying power of the Razorbacks in this type of a situation. It's remarkable how much better they are. I don't know exactly where the comm is, but I have a rough idea. Oh, well that's nice. Oh, wait, Blue must have heard me. Thank you. This must have been resurrected. You can resurrect a destroyed lab, and with the T2 lab, that is often the most efficient thing to do with it. Now, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a dance here to try to... Okay, yeah. I was trying to avoid those plasma shells. I'm not especially good at that specific type of micro, to be honest with you. The best I've got is just move back and forth and hope for the best. Usually that does work, but nothing's guaranteed. But anyway, you don't need micro when you have overwhelming force. This is one funny thing about this game, is that you want it to be about finesse, but truly, more units beats less units, and that logic decides like 99% of games. And I'm the type of person who does enjoy microing and playing from behind and winning that way. I don't enjoy getting behind, but you gotta be behind to make a comeback, you know what I mean?
Battle ended.
And, there we go. Now, yeah, see, that's... So I wonder how much of it's the bonuses and how much of it is literally just the positions we were playing. Because look at these graphs here, like, these plus 30% AIs, they ain't shit. Those are the warm colors, yellow, red, orange. Literally easily outpaced all of them. So it's effectively just a matter of the number of metal spots that you have available to you. And so let this be like a headline lesson, is more metal beats less metal. Take your metal spots as fast as possible. Very often in games, you will see people delaying building their metal. Oh, it doesn't matter, I'm getting to it. No, this is what the game is about. That is the most important thing you could be doing. Nothing else, except maybe not dying, is more important than this. So let's find a game now that we can spectate and sort of apply some of these concepts that I talked about within a real, and we're not going to do a game versus bots. We're going to, okay, a noob rotato. Okay, I'm not going to play this, obviously, because it says noob, and there's a bunch of one-chefs in here. But we're going to rejoin this. And by rejoin, it means join for the first time. I don't know why it says that on the button, but we're going to spectate this. And we're basically going to break this down in the context of the concepts we were just discussing and see what's working and what's not for these kids. Now, it said, oh, I thought that said in progress since 4 minutes. It's been 4 seconds. Okay, so we're really gonna get into it. I wonder if this is even the best one to do, actually, because I don't want to fucking wait. Let's check the lobby list, and this is a good time to talk about that, too. We're gonna over-explain that, too, where it's like, okay, here's, in green, the games that are open. Here, in, like, yellow-orange-ish, gold, is the games that are in progress. Blue and red, I don't know what the fuck that's about. You don't need those ones. Now, very often, you will see games that are way too fucking sweaty. If you mouse over a game, and it says, like, min chev a billion, min rating a billion, that's sort of a red flag for a new player. If you mouse over a game, and you see all of these silver chevrons, you get those from spending 1,000 hours in-game. And I don't just mean in lobby, but like physically in-game playing a game of bar. Not spectating, not waiting for a game to start, but like actually in this screen here. So, 1,000 hours. That's a lot. Those people will expect their teammates not necessarily to have that level of experience, but to have a baseline understanding of what's going on. And if you don't have that, that's okay, but that's not the lobby for you. Whereas, if you see a lobby that's more like this one, that I have highlighted right here, a lot of one chevs, there's a 4 chev in there, and it says noobs only, that's a great noob lobby. Get on in there. One thing that kind of annoys me, frankly, is that there's a lot of noob lobbies these days relative to medium-range lobbies, but that's not the point. Let's see, I wonder if this guy would be down to play, because I'm not that good at 1v1. We'll see. We'll see. If he kicks me, then fair enough. And if not, then we'll have a good game. Okay, yeah, fuck you. What else we got? Yeah, it's pretty slim pickings tonight, to be honest with you, which kind of like, that's why I got started on this, like, let me play against AI and just talk through that. So I was like, we're not going to find something better, frankly. Side note, I don't know why that guy's saying noob when he's 4 chev and like 21 OS. That's not quite noob to me, but whatever. Let's find something. Oh, this is fun. 4v4 glitters. I am going to spectate this. There we go. Rejoin. Now, this is typically an 8v8 map, and this is a map that you will see played a lot. Many people, myself included, are completely sick of this map. But playing it 4v4 is actually underrated and pretty fun, in my opinion. And the only downside of it is that
Battle started.
it's maybe not instructive for noobs, because you get so rich so quickly that your biggest challenge is how do I spend all my money in time. But, yeah, I mean, let's take a look at what we got going on here. Right off the bat, you can see there's a lot more action than,
Commander destroyed.
than in those games we just played. Oh yeah, this is actually about to be over. Gosh, I wonder if they'd mind if I hop in on the next round. This for sure is over now. But yeah, basically, you see a lot of mechs being taken, a lot of mechs not taken over here, and in the top right, you can see the total team incomes, more than a 2-to-1 difference for the blue team over the red. And they vote to resign. Well, they must have seen me in the spectator list and said it's all over now. But, noobs only, 32 OS. It just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? But that's basically the problem. It's like, what else is there, you know? Literally all this shit says noobs, man. All this shit says noobs. Alright, well, let's see. How long has the stream been going for? 2.5 hours? I actually don't hate calling it here. I was hoping to get a real game in, but it's just not that kind of night. It's just not that kind of night. All these noobs want to play their noob games. So if you're a noob and you watch this to learn the game, then what I want you to take away from what's happening right now is if you hopped on bar right now, you could find a better game than I can. So, if that's not a nice invitation to play the game, I don't know what is. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Stay safe out there, take care. Download bar, it's free, it's fun. It'll consume your life, but in a good way. And take it easy.